So I just got back from recording this week's episode of Writers Not Writing, and our guest was Chelsea Cain and her good friend Bunny, who came with her to Barcelona, and she was wonderful. We got to see them. That was really great. But I forgot to mention something important on the show. Right after I said, "Hail and well met, slayers of giants, welcome to Writers Not Writing," I should have said right at the beginning that, and I forgot to say on air, that we were recording from Backstory Bookshop. And you can see I'm wearing my Backstory Bookshop t-shirt, which has ink stains because I really do wear it, and I'm a writer. Ink stains happen. You end up with a pen in the wash. But thanks to Backstory Bookshop, I'm not just blowing smoke because they were kind enough to have us, although that was really wonderful that they had us, but it's just a beautiful store. And you know, it is everything you want in a bookshop. It's got a great selection. The customer service is excellent. The people there are really wonderful. They're knowledgeable, and it's just a neat place. And I was talking with Chelsea Cain before we recorded about what a great bookstore it is, and I was telling her that, you know, if anybody out there who is watching has ever dreamed of starting an English language bookstore in Barcelona when you retire, don't bother, because you won't start the best English language bookstore in Barcelona, because that already exists in its backstory. You would at best start the second best bookshop. But also, if you've ever dreamed of starting a bookshop when you retire, don't do that when you retire. Running a bookstore is really, really hard. The reason it is tough is because it is the kind of business that people go into because they love customers, they love the product, they love the work. And unfortunately, your power company, your water company probably do not accept love in exchange for electricity and water. And so making a bookstore profitable is very, very difficult, and I just give such kudos to the folks who run Backstory, this beautiful shop. And I will relay to you a point that was made by Chelsea off air before we got, before she was our guest, before we got on air, which was, don't dream of starting a bookshop when you retire. Become a patron of a bookshop now. If you are in Barcelona and you come to visit, go to Backstory and see this great bookshop. Go to Come In Books, go to one of the, if you read in Spanish, go to one of the many wonderful librerias, bookstores here in Barcelona, but patronize bookshops, especially in this era. We talk about this a lot on the show of our current politics. Own your books in physical form. Go to bookstores, talk with the people there, buy your books. And specifically, come visit us here in Barcelona. Give us a shout, give us a connection via DM, and I will take you to Backstory, and you can see one of the great bookstores here in Barcelona. So thanks to Backstory for this show, and here is our interview with the amazing Chelsea Cain. I'm like the Americans.
And so now I've got several videos talking about the differences between the U.S. and Spain, and it's because everything is better here, except for the peanut butter M&Ms. It's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, shall we dive in?
Okay, let's get started.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about the peanut butter M&Ms. Nobody told me that.
They don't have peanut butter M&Ms.
They don't. Well, and
Yes.
Rob had a friend come visit. And I was like, he mentioned he was coming to visit, and I was like, do you think he could bring me? So, and he did. He brought like a family
peanut butter M&Ms.
bag, and I
nice
put
of
them
you.
in the refrigerator, and I ate like one at a time, like one
That's
a day.
amazing. That's incredible.
Well, for like a week.
And then you were like,
And then I made the mistake of taking the bag out of the refrigerator to go sit down with it, and then I was like, 5 minutes later, I'm like, this is my last one.
Yeah. My son's going to come visit. We'll have him bring up suitcase with us.
Every time we have family come
Yes.
visit, please go to Costco and get the biggest size box that you can find of peanut butter M&Ms.
So I went to visit friends in Copenhagen where they have and these friends had small children who lived off of peanut butter, which I know isn't very popular in Europe, but is a main food source.
Oh, yeah.
In the States, and they really liked this very natural Adams. And I went and I bought them 2 big glass vats of it, 2 of them, right? Really proud of myself. I am such a good friend, I thought. And then I thought, well, I better like this is going to be, if something happens, these are just going to be all over my clothes.
Gosh.
So I,
Oh, no.
got all this thick bubble wrap and I wrapped them all in bubble wrap. So now it is these two huge kind of, like now it's in bubble wrap. It's looking scarier and scarier.
Right.
It's looking very suspicious now. Like it's looking very much like a bomb.
Oh, no.
Definitely.
It's got some wires and a phone
No,
attached.
it's like the two things and all the bubble wrap. And so then, because we're flying through Reykjavik, I was like, okay, clearly this is going to draw attention. So I'm going to write a note. I'm going to write a note to the TSA. And I'm going to explain. So I put this note on top of it, which I taped to the thing, to the TSA. This is just peanut butter I'm taking to my friends in Copenhagen. They have 2 children, and they've really been missing this. Just peanut butter, but also, if you do happen to take apart this, please rebubble wrap it so it doesn't break on my clothes.
Oh.
And we get to Copenhagen. The bag doesn't come.
Oh no.
The bag doesn't come. Doesn't come for a couple of days, and it takes dealing, like it was not an easy process.
Yep.
There wasn't just a simple number you could call, but it becomes clear that it is in Reykjavik, and then eventually it arrives like 4 days later, and we open it up, and of course they have opened up the peanut butter. And then they have very sweetly rewrapped it all and left a little note about, sorry that we had to open up your peanut butter, but come on, it looked like a bomb.
This was done in Iceland. This was
it was
very
all
nice
done
people
in
in
Iceland,
Iceland.
right.
So, yeah.
When we flew here, our bags, 2 of our suitcases, because we had carry-ons and then 4 of the biggest suitcases we could possibly buy.
Sure.
And 2 of them didn't make it off of Air Canada. But we put air tags in all of our suitcases. And we put them on all of the pets because we were flying with 5 animals. And so we put them on all the things. So on the app, like we call the airline, we're missing 2 of this. And it's all of my clothes. It's all the clothes I own anymore. And call the airline. And they're like, okay, we'll send them. We know where they are. We'll send them to them. And then on the app, I'm watching the tracking. And then one day I'm watching it, it's almost to us. And then the next day it's all the way across Spain. And then the next day wait, where are you going? Why are you going back and forth across the country? And by the time it made it to us, one of them was broken. And that was fun to haul from Airbnb to Airbnb.
Yeah, with a missing wheel through the streets of Barcelona. But yes, we now have a place for the next 5 years. So the moves were rough. Well, shall we formally introduce and begin the show?
We can do that.
Hail and well met, Giant Slayers. So this is our last episode of Writers Not Writing. Don't worry. That's because we're changing the name. We decided to do a kind of a rebrand. We've talked about that in the last couple of shows, so it's now going to be Tilting at Windmills because we are here in Spain and we are talking to authors, but often we're talking about kind of what's going on in the world and the giants that need slaying these days. So we are excited for our last episode of Writers Not Writing. We have a very special guest. We mentioned this on last week's show as well. We have Chelsea Cain. Welcome. And we're going to do our best to not fangirl out the entire show. I mean, you could just sit and we could just talk about how great you are.
That sounds really fun.
We really could.
I'd like to greenlight that.
Oh my gosh.
It could devolve into...
Yeah, I think 80-20. 80-20 is
like
good.
it could devolve into like fanning and girlish blushing on Ben's part and maybe some tears very easily.
Yeah, right. And I try and avoid writing process kinds of stuff because, that's very writerly and I want it to be reader focused, but I could talk about your writing. So if folks have not read Chelsea's writing, it is fantastic. It is a trip and it is... The characters, I could go on and on and on. But
please do.
Okay, so I should mention this. I think I might have mentioned this on a previous show. So the Archie series, it begins with Heartsick, the entire series takes place in Portland. There's like one exception where they go into a small town in Washington and there's like a couple trips to Salem. Otherwise, it is very much in Portland and feels deeply Portland.
Yeah.
And if you have been to Portland, you feel like, okay, this is this place that I know really well. And then I had this kind of surreal experience of wandering around Barcelona, reading these books, and just going, I feel like I'm being teleported back into Portland, like, from the other side of the world. And
I'm reading a book called Heartsick as you are...
wandering the streets at 4 a.m.
in a new country.
City.
Yeah.
But the characters are great. I think my favorite thing, now I'm really going to fanboy out, is one of the things I teach my students about in writing is one of the keys is withholding. You have to not give information away too soon. And those books are plotted so well, and it's so carefully done so that these pieces of information are being dribbled out, and you're finding things out over the course of time, and you're going, oh, this changes the way I understand what happened before. So if you've not read but I totally enjoyed One Kick too, and I'm not going to be the person who is saying, where's the sequel, where's the sequel, where's the sequel, but Big Five publishers, where's the sequel? Like, throw money at her, because I want to read the sequel. People out in the world want the sequel to One Kick. That I don't know if that's one that you are interested in writing, but I want to read it. It would be so good.
Well, and I just found a streaming platform over here, and Gone is next on my watch list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah.
on
So
all
I'm
the
really-
streaming.
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
much.
it's
I should
difficult.
mention,
They
Gone
don't-
is the series made about the novel One Kick. But,
so they don't all translate.
Okay.
So something might be available on Netflix in the U.S., but it's not here.
Okay.
Unless you're using a VPN, and I'm not willing to.
But speaking of the
But
change of media,
I finally found a new streaming platform based out of the UK that has it, and so it's next on my watch.
Okay.
I'm really excited.
I'll be interested to hear what you think.
Yeah.
But speaking of change of media, we wanted to ask you, you have a film coming out.
I do. Well, I have a film, I wrote a film. That's how it started.
Yeah.
I wrote a movie. I had an idea, and I wrote a treatment, and then I imagined a friend's kid starring in it. He happens to be a film director. And so I kind of pitched it to him, and it was like, do you think, Cleo would be in this movie? And then I knew, like, he'd have to direct it.
Right.
Right. So I got them both. It was a twofer. And we filmed it in the woods of Oregon. Over the winter. Bunny, who just walked in as a producer on that film.
Oh.
She's going to come on screen in a minute because she's going to give me a water. You're all going to get to meet her. Say hi. There we go. Hello. No, there's Bunny. Bunny's on. We filmed it, and it was, it was quite an experience. My first, I have tried my hand at writing screenplays just to kind of see if I could kind of crack the format, but never gotten close to anything I was happy with or pursued. And this one was interesting because we also did it with a bunch of friends. It's just like a baby movie.
Yeah.
But it's turned out pretty well, I think.
I'm really excited.
What was that experience like? Having this thing that, you've experienced it, having something you've written then turned into a comic book or turned into a TV show, but you were on set, right? So you were seeing this group of collaborators work with your words.
Yeah, and that was, I enjoyed the collaborative process because, a movie really is, in the end, it's the director's vision. Right?
Yeah.
I can put down the story and the characters and dialogue and all of that. But it's really it's how it's shot and how he treats characters and how long he lingers after a line and that's really where the story is. So it was really fun to kind of see his choices.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to see the characters too, how they evolved in my mind, from what was in my mind to actual fleshy human beings who had costumes and lines, and it was like, oh, there you are.
and bring their
you're the
own
chief of
choices to a
police.
line reading.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like that's
Right.
that's not
Sometimes,
how I would have said it, but
Right.
I like what you brought. You know,
right. And sometimes it'd be really surprising. It's like, oh yeah, and that's one of the things I really like about writing comic books too, is that somebody always brings something sideways that I never would have, a choice I never would have made, because if I could have seen it, I would have made it.
Right.
Yeah.
So having somebody come in sideways with this choice that is unfamiliar to me, it always like bumps for a minute at first, because I didn't see it.
Right.
And then it's like I live with it for a couple minutes, and it's like, oh my God, like this changes everything about this panel, like this, and it opens up all these possibilities to, have this line then be something different, to move us into the next panel in a different way, all because, whether it's a choice the colorist made, or, the illustrator, or even the inker.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, so when we moved, we had to, one of the most heartbreaking parts of moving, I know for Ben, I think it was the first time he cried, was we had to pack up 95% of our books.
I mean, get rid of.
Just
90%.
and get rid of, because it was,
Which was
Yeah.
heart-wrenching.
it's going to be thousands of dollars to ship over
Yeah.
walls of books.
Yeah.
Cheaper to purchase them
And
again.
so I went down to a box of books, and they are
All
my,
your Sweet Valley High books.
well, no, no, that would have been like Babysitters Club. No, those got passed down to my younger sister already, but it was the ones of, okay, is it going to cost more to buy this book again than it is to ship this book over to us? And so my to be read pile that was, this tall, that I hadn't even gotten to, was like, I haven't even read these and I have to get rid of them. And but all of the books that did survive, I have yours survived the trip. And when I met you at Rose City, I think it was Rose City a couple of years ago, and I got the comics all signed from you.
Yes, the signed ones.
And those
we can.
ones very carefully got tucked in, because
Good,
they're
baked and boarded,
the
I hope.
mags in, very carefully packaged up. And I love the way, I don't know if you remember, but I love the way you signed those. That was the most amazing author signature that I think I have. Like in any book, it's so much fun.
Well, you have to tell it right.
She signs a pad, like a sanitary pad, and then
With a
sticks
red
it,
Sharpie.
yeah, and then sticks it on the inside of the comic of the book, and I love that so much. It's so much fun.
Well, that reminds me about something you wanted to bring up, that you wanted to ask about.
Yes.
About readings.
Yeah, but then I verge on fangirling. Even when you came in today, I was talking about this on last week's episode. Every time that I've seen you, every time that I've met you, I always have to resist the urge. I think I did last time. I was like, I'm Ben's wife, and you're like, I know who you are. I'm like, no, you don't. Even when you came in today, I was like, I'm Ben. No, you don't have to. She knows it. Which for me is as a reader is one of those, it still kind of boggles my mind. But the first time I met you, and this is one of those where I don't expect you to remember.
Okay.
But the first time I met you, I was a student at Western, and I was taking an Oregon authors class. And so we were reading a collection of Oregon authors. So we were reading Fight Club. And so my professor was like, if anybody is interested, I can't go, but this would be a really cool thing. There's a reading with Chuck Palahniuk in Eugene. And
right.
And so I was like, oh, I am on that. And so me and two of my other friends jumped online and bought tickets. And so it was you, and it was Lydia Yuknovich and Chuck Palahniuk doing a reading at this. It used to
call
be
it more of an event.
Well, yeah. So it used to be a church,
No, so
in
like
Eugene, and now
armory, or like a
it's kind of like an offshoot, off-campus type building. And so it's this old white wooden building with a small stage, and just there was no chairs, we walk in, and on the thing it says this is a pajama party. So we come in pajamas, and all three of you are wearing various forms of pajamas. I remember one of you was wearing no shoes. I don't remember if it was
That would
you.
be Chuck.
Yeah, and I walked in thinking this is going to be amazing, and there's a fog machine, there's pillows and blankets on the floor, and this pile of stuffed animals, and so we walk in and sit down, and it was one of the best, if not the best, reading that I've ever been to.
I'm gonna take that personally.
And it wasn't like a reading. I remember Lydia walked out with like a handwritten story written out that she read. It was just a short story. And you read a short story about like a zombie baby, and Chuck reads like a little short story, and then the rest of it was the three of you on stage just telling like stories about your own interactions and all of that. And it was as a fan, as somebody who had already read your books and had just picked up, I think it wasn't Chronology of Water, it was her book, right? The pink cover, the Book of Joan. I think I just picked up of hers, and just read Fight Club. For me, sitting there, and it's like you're hiding in somebody's hiding at the bar behind three authors that you're reading, and just listening to them like have a conversation was so much fun. And then you started throwing stuff out into the audience, signing like fake body parts, arms and legs, and like fingers and toes, and a full on like baby doll that was like zombified and signed.
And is that kind of normal for those kinds of events? Do you often
I rambled.
No,
with those guys, we did a bunch of bedtime stories events. So we even toured for Chuck's book Doomed. We toured like 8 cities, which was really interesting because it was like touring like a rock band, where like you'd play a city, and then a town car would come and get you in the morning, take you to the airport, fly somewhere, you tour, you do that city, a city a night, and and by the end, like we just would stop taking off our jammies. We would go out to eat in the jammies after the show. Just lost all sense of that. And I in Baltimore at the Four Seasons, which is where we were staying, like the town car pulls up after the show, and I'm in my full flouncy jammies, and I had my baby doll, my zombie baby. Which was, a prop, but baby sized. I had it, and I just, because I was carrying this around, usually during the evenings, I had just taken to, the way you do, just carrying it like a baby. And the Four Seasons guy opened the door, and I stepped out of it, and I tripped and dropped the baby.
Oh no!
The baby slams face first. Onto the pavement, and this man, oh my God, like every blood cell in his body drops to his feet. He was like, and I was like, not a real baby, and then I'm picking it up, and look, it's a zombie baby, so it looks dead, right? Like that's the whole point of the zombie baby, is that like it's got blood coming out of its eyes and mouth, and I'm like, no, it's not a real. And he literally, he's surrounded by his coworkers who are patting him on the back, and they take him over to sit down, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, so sorry, not a real baby.
Terribly sorry, and also I wish that was on video. Like that's one of those, I'm sorry you had a heart attack, but also, oh my gosh, what a moment.
Never.
So, how many of the zombie babies do you take with you though? Because the reading that we went to,
right.
You signed one, and you tossed it out in the audience, and you hit my friend. And again, you probably don't remember, but she was so excited because she's like, she hit me in the head with the baby, and she's like, this one's mine.
So was that
biting off people?
Was that a baby doll that I had customized?
I mean, it was. It was about this big, and it was marked up to look like a dead baby.
I went through a phase where I customized the baby dolls, and that is because I had done one when we were on tour. I had like my backup zombie baby, that I had purchased like through a Halloween store, and it really was. It was nice, and it was also foam core, so it was soft.
This one was not soft.
Yeah, but then Monica Drake and I were in Houston, staying at the Drury Hotel, which lived up to its name. Chuck was at the Four Seasons. This is sometimes how the tour went. And Monica and I were in this room that was just like reeked of cigarette smoke and was completely sealed up. You couldn't open the windows. And Monica had walked like a mile down the highway to like a Target to get stuff to like throw at the audience, and had come back with all this candy and nail polish, just because it was like, that'd be a fun thing. And I had some nail polish, so we put all of our nail polish together, and I realized that the nail polish collection that we had were the colors of decomposition. And I thought, I bet I could make this baby doll, this doll, because I had asked her to pick up a doll at Target just so I would have an extra doll. And I looked at this doll and I was like, I could make this doll look dead. Because the thing about decomposition, right, is it starts, right, with the orifices, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, right? So, you know, like, and I had a black nail polish, so I was able to blacken out, right, first, right, the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and then take the red, the blood, to add a little detailing there. And then, luckily, we had this, like, olive green, so that helped a lot in detailing. And then, of course, the fingertips also. So, like, I had the brown little fingertips and then the brown little toes. You know, maybe just a single bloody tear. And it was actually very convincing. And so I was pretty proud of it. And so at the end, I threw it out. And then so, like, every city we would go to, I would have to find a store with a doll. And then that was my little afternoon activity. That was my little maker fair in my hotel room.
To decomp a baby.
What
are you doing this afternoon?
Right?
Yeah. And I got better at it every time.
I have a little severed finger that you signed, and so that's in my my jewelry box in storage, packed up to ship over.
A novelty severed finger.
Yes.
I mean, it's
clarify.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as we know.
Novelty.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm not quite sure how it's going to make it past customs.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
I mean, it still may be an issue. We'll see.
I once traveled to Hollywood with like 60 severed fingers for an event. And, you know, like, I just put them on top of it was just like a quick flight, so it was just a little carry-on, and they were just loose on top. And it went through the x-ray machine.
Oh, no.
No, and they didn't care about the severed fingers. They saw something else in there they wanted to check out. But the guy is opening it, and I'm like, there's something I should tell you. And he opens it, and like, all these severed fingers pour out of the suitcase. And he was like, oh, like, really? He's like, but do you have a nail clipper in there? Because that's not allowed.
Yeah.
It was after something else.
I've always wondered, like, as an author that writes the kind of stuff that you write, and I imagine Googles some interesting things. Mm-hmm. Do you ever, like, occasionally, like, Google your own name so that whoever is monitoring your search activity is like, oh, she's a writer. That's why she's writing, like, you know, how long does it take to melt a body or something?
I think that the people who are monitoring me are fully aware.
Yeah.
Yes,
but you know, an author's search history is nightmarish. It's true. And bizarre. You know, do you find yourself searching for things where you're like, nobody, and not just, you know, the kind of the hard research, but like the weird historical stuff where you're like, the usage of this phrase in 1960 would have been, you know, like, my search history is very, very odd. You know, do you know Google Ngram Viewer? Have you ever used this? So I recommend this to everybody. This is a wonderful tool. So they have this feature where they scanned the libraries at the New York City Library, I believe the Library of Harvard, a whole bunch. Google just, you know, hired people to go in and scan all these books going back to the 1800s. And then you go in and you type in a phrase, comma, and another phrase, and it'll graph them, and you can see which was actually in print in a given time. So it's great for linguists who are doing descriptive grammar rather than prescriptive grammar. How do people actually write? You know, and when did they write? And so when you're saying, is this phrase, you know, should this phrase be hyphenated? Well, when it's normally in print, you can track, those ceased to be hyphenated and started to be conjoined in this time, and so that is actually more common.
You are such a nerd.
Yeah, it's very nerdy. Super nerdy, but it's super helpful when you're editing.
What was I looking up? I was looking up something the other day that we didn't do that, but I was trying to, I was trying to figure out how you get the nickname Dick from Richard.
The kind of
and like how that happens. And because I have ADHD, it ended up on this very long Google dive about where that comes from. And that was like it became like a common name that meant like men in general, like everyone. And then it was used in a writing in like the early mid 1800s in a story, and then it became like more popular in general, and that's when it.
So pretty recent.
Well, the context of the story was the guy, they were calling him a dick because he was an everyone, but he was also an asshole, and so that's when it transitioned from the pejorative term transitioned into
or turned from a common term to a pejorative term.
Yeah, that's what I'm not the writer of the table, but and so my search history is
And then when did it become the other thing?
Shortly after that, because then it becomes here's a common nickname that actually started because it was common to rhyme nicknames.
Oh, and that's where they came from. That's why Rick became Dick.
Yeah, so you create these kind of rhyming nicknames as they shorten, and then it becomes Dick, which becomes a term for just like everyman. And then it ends up in this writing thing where this everyman is also kind of an asshole. And then slowly over the next like 30, 40 years, according to this, again, article, Google article, it shifted from like everyman that is kind of an asshole to now it's become a term that is specific to a part of a man that's also referred to as an asshole. Right, as like a jerk. So then it becomes a body part.
But it was
term.
That was the discovery was that it was rhyming slang, like William to Bill was Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah, like rhyming.
Yeah.
Like Margaret to Peggy, it becomes this like it's this. And I can't give examples anymore because I can't remember. But like it's this whole like rhyming to get to the short. Because I'm like, how do you even possibly get to there? But it's like Richard to Rick
one was
to Dick,
William to Will to Bill.
Yeah.
You know what I respect about you, Chris? Is that,
no idea.
It's like that. I've had that question for like 30 fucking years. Like Dick from Richard. How?
I only know the joke answer to that.
But
You asked really nicely.
I have never ever considered actually researching it, and like hey, well done, you.
What was what book were you reading where you went on the deep dive about Napoleon?
Oh no, it wasn't a book; it was a movie. I was watching the Tom Hanks movie, The Terminal. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that? Where it's loosely based on a true story, where he's this man who lands at an airport in, I believe, New York. And when he lands, while he's going through custom, there's like a civil war happening in his country. And so his country ceases to exist. So he becomes a citizen of no country. And so he can't leave the airport. He can't go through customs. And so there's a scene in it where he meets a flight attendant, and played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, and she is reading a biography about Napoleon, and he says to her, "Do you know what Napoleon gave his wife for her birthday?" And I'm watching this movie, and I pause it.
This is my wife too.
And 2 hours later, I know the story all about Napoleon and his first wife, and then I know the story all about Napoleon and his horrifically abusive relationship with his second wife, and the necklace he gave her for her birthday, and why the necklace then symbolizes all this abusive behavior around Napoleon and all of it, and then what happened to the necklace, and where, like, 2 hours down. And then I hit play on the movie, and 10 minutes later they meet up again in the terminal, and he says, "Do you know?" And she starts talking about, the necklace. And I'm like, if you had just watched for 10 more minutes, this would not have become a 4-hour movie.
You just didn't trust the movie to answer the
No,
question.
I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Napoleon's necklace is the worst Chekhov's gun. And, you thought they were never going to reveal it.
Ben hates watching movies with me because I'm like, let's pause it every 5 minutes because that actor's voice sounds vaguely familiar, and I need to pull that up, and then I need to know every other movie that maybe I've heard them from, and then
Yep.
Yeah, Ben hates watching.
Yes, she doesn't do that in theaters.
I don't do it in theaters. I wait till I leave the theater and I step out of the theater and I pull up my phone and I'm immediately trying to remember all the questions I had while I was watching the movie.
Well, and like even into this actor was married to this actor and is the child of this. You know, Oh, is this person in that baby? Yes.
It really kind of is. Don't ask me what I ate for breakfast. Well, I didn't eat breakfast, but hypothetically speaking, don't ask me what I ate yesterday. But then ask me about the, socio-romantic relationships of these 8 actors in this one obscure movie and all the other movies they've ever made.
Oh, yeah.
I got you. I got you covered. I'm fun at trivia.
We should do a podcast about that.
Yes.
Sometimes it devolves into.
Yes.
Sometimes my mouth works before my brain has told it what to say. So.
Which can be advantageous, and so we wanted to also ask you about this trip. So you have been in France, and you're just in Barcelona for basically the day, right? But what was France like? NotAPipePublishing is excited to announce our huge summer sale. Everything on our online store is 25% off. Let's face it, it's hot. So read a great book in the shade, wear a new shirt to the barbecue, sport the merch, and save. Share this with all your bookish friends. bit.ly/NAP store. bit.ly/N, lowercase a, capital P, lowercase store. Attention authors, poets, and visual artists. From Palestine to the poles, the Congo to Ukraine, Sudan to El Salvador, from the streets of Los Angeles to the swamps of Alligator Alcatraz, the world is in danger. And too many people are watching in silence. Speak out while you still can. Volume 1 of the Antifa Lit Journal is available now, and NotAPipePublishing is excited to announce we are open for submissions for Volume 2. Authors, poets, and visual artists, if you want to take a stand and use your talents to reject fascism and advocate for a beautiful world of diverse voices, justice for all, and liberation from the rapacious billionaires and self-serving plutocrat politicians trying to deceive, divide, conquer, and consume our world, send us your best work to consider for inclusion in the next volume. Find submission guidelines at bit.ly.antifalit. That's bit.ly/ANTIFALIT. Put pen to paper and let everyone know you demand a better world. But what was France like?
It was très bien. I was there for a writing retreat, Come to Your Senses, which is run by the writer Karen Carbo in Collier. And I was the special guest. Yeah. And it's a lovely retreat. I recommend it to anybody who's looking for that kind of thing. And Collier is a town of 3,000 people, right? A village, medieval village right on the sea. Have I sold you? It's
I know. That's it.
It's an hour and a half train ride from here.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we went to the castle here, and I was so excited. I'm like, this is my first time at a castle. And of course, I'm like, where are the dungeons? I walk through the streets of Barcelona, and I will literally point at buildings and be like, that has like the low little thing with the grate over. I bet you there's a dungeon. And Ben's like,
that's
there's
probably
not.
That's
what he keeps saying. You can't tell me. Statistically speaking, the city
some of those
so
wine cellars
old.
have been used as dungeons.
Some of them have to be.
On and off.
We're up there at this castle, and Ben's like, this isn't even an old castle. This isn't even a medieval castle.
Yeah.
This was
such a new castle.
Yeah.
I was like, come on.
There was a dungeon. It was used for torture, but that was under Franco. It was, but yeah, I'll point it out to you. Montjuïc Castle is. You can tell it's a modern castle because it was built in the era of cannons. So it's not tall because they weren't concerned about shooting arrows.
It's still a castle. It has a dungeon.
Thick castle, But so poor, and our daughter Frankie was, her first castle too, and I'm going. This is just from the 1600s. Just wait, we'll show you some much older.
Just from the 1600s.
Yeah. So
Ben's
was this one of these writing ones where they are super highly structured, or where people go and they're kind of set free to write as they?
In between, my bit was not structured at all.
Which is nice.
Imagine. They were all a little bit like, so there's no handout? Like, no, everybody, let's go to the sea. but yeah, there was like a gathering in the morning, and then writing time in the afternoon, and then it was all there were private chefs who, it's all inclusive, who made the food, which is very nice. So everybody would gather for dinner in the evenings. It's a nice model.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the writer, but I would be like, can I tag along?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can be a +1. And it's a very, very pretty little town, and very friendly. Which the French are not always famous for.
That I have heard. I haven't been to France yet.
Well, this is a good starter.
Yeah,
I would say.
They
let me they let you practice a little bit your French, which I found they're less patient with in other parts of France.
Yeah.
Well, and my understanding is that, and we're acknowledging this is generalizations, is that's very much Paris and the countryside.
Yes.
So Paris.
Yeah.
Far snootier, you don't speak French to us, and
Well,
the
they're busy.
countryside.
They're
They're
busy.
busy. They
Plus,
got
how many
stuff to
tourists do they see every day?
Yeah.
Whereas you get into the countryside, very sweet, welcoming, kind people.
Yeah, and it's very Catalonian, Couleur.
Yeah.
Okay. We took the little tourist train, the petite train, which is just, it's got the little miniature engine, like for children, miniature engine, and then the little carts, right?
Yeah.
And we took that, and wow, right? It's all in French.
Yeah.
Because it's France.
Yeah.
And it winds up and like up through the like vineyards and up the hill and past like old forts and whatnot, and I'm understanding about 15 to 18% of what's being said, and then translating for my friend Bunny, who's next to me, who speaks Spanish but not French, and I'm pointing at the fort, being like, "That's the high school." They'll talk for like 20 minutes about the grapes, and I'll be like, "They're proud of their grapes." So I think I was able to translate the gist.
It was really helpful.
That's about how I'm going to be my 4 years of college French 15 years ago. I'm going to be like, I understood one word in 8.
Yeah, I can say, "Je ne parle pas français," which sounds very nice. Sounds very fancy.
There's a little town on the opposite side. I don't know directions. Ben will point my finger where it's supposed to go.
I don't know what you're pointing to.
The other side of Spain, like the other coast, the west coast.
West Coast. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm directionally challenged.
Yeah. You were close.
There's a little town there that has that same kind of little train car that goes up the side of the mountain.
I must go
along
to
the rocks, right over the ocean.
It's always along the rocks.
Yeah.
It gives it a little bit of thrill.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's like Enchanted Forest. Have you been to Enchanted Forest? Mm-hmm. With the little train car that goes through, except you're in Spain. Or like you're in France. Mm-hmm. You're not in,
Salem, south of
Salem,
and you're going along
town.
some sort of rocky cliffside.
Yeah. Instead of this horrifying nightmare amusement park that...
Oh. So, folks who are watching in Oregon, luckily nobody's watching live in Oregon because it's the middle of the night, but
That's true.
Enchanted Forest is this incredibly kind of kitschy place that's just south of... Salem itself is an odd town because it is the state capital of the state of Oregon, and much like Sacramento, that's all it is. Like, there's no other reason. There's not a lot of culture in Salem. It's a kind of strange place. It's the seat of government, and then everybody else who lives there, 300,000 people who live there don't really know why.
Yeah.
And so
mostly because it's not Portland and it's not Eugene.
Right. It doesn't have a lot of personality, but it's got this interesting, very kitschy amusement park for pretty little kids.
Yeah.
It's really kind of low rent.
It's like It's a Small World, but an entire amusement park.
Yeah, imagine, and so, but, absolutely, when my son was little, we would go there regularly. Kids love this place, and so that was an important part of his upbringing.
Yeah.
Like
as a kid, it was great. I remember going as a little kid. Going as an adult, taking my own kid, I was like, "This looks horrifying.
It's kind of creepy.
This is kind of the place."
I thought it got better as an adult.
It gets creepier as.
I was like, "This is the kind of place where you might hide a body. You might disappear."
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
There's it's got a Snoopy Doo or Scooby Doo Snoopy Doo. Mixing my
there was a time period though like from the 80s when I was a child, and it was still new-ish, to it got a bit run down in the middle, and then it got some funding to be like repainted and refurbished, and they added a couple things in like the late 2000s
I don't know.
ish. And so if you went in that middle period, it was kind of like maybe this might be a bit of like an abandoned. Yeah.
Yes.
You're watching it and you go to the circus after dark when it's been closed down, and it's a little, that was my impression of it, but that's, yeah.
So what's next in the trip for you? You just have Barcelona, and then where are you off to from here?
Home.
Oh, back home.
Back home, but only for 10 days. Then I'm going to Maui for another writer's retreat.
Nice. So we've been trying to make a point on the show to ask, you use the platform when you're headed home. What have you been dealing with and processing as far as what's going on politically and socially in the United States lately?
It's been kind of nice being here and like really only looking at my phone maybe once or twice a day.
Yeah.
Rather than 20 times or more a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a relief, at least for me, there's a relief when I hear his voice or I read about things that he's doing. There's this like distance, and then there's this relief, and then there's this guilt. So I'm like, oh, there are still people back there that are like,
well, it all affects everybody.
Yeah.
And I do feel a need to just sort of apologize to everybody who passes me on the street in Europe.
Yeah. Oh, somebody said to me.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, somebody said to me, you're from America? And I was like, that is exactly the way you should be saying that.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, that's exactly the way you should be saying that. Yes, I'm very sorry.
It's embarrassing.
It's not by choice.
Yeah.
Even my students, my little students, like my young 8, 9, 10-year-olds, when I tell them I'm from the U.S., they're like, oh, no.
The Mad King.
And I'm like, what are your parents showing you at home? I would not have been. Yeah, they're aware. It's pretty. Somebody's like, why did you move to Spain? Well, I'm from the United States. Oh, okay, yeah, we get
That's
it.
all we have to do. All we have to say. We moved right before Inauguration Day for reasons.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who have moved to Europe.
And I'm hearing a lot more people talk about. I've been thinking about that more. A lot of people that I interact with online that are like, yeah, I should have started thinking about it a couple of years ago, but I'm like, how did you do that? I'm like, yeah, we weren't going to wait.
Yeah, but I wish we had been more planful and taken it slower, but at the same time,
That's my fault.
We really couldn't. We were very lucky. So our kid has an ex-gender marker on their passport.
Yeah.
And the day after the inauguration, the
The
first
day
day he was
of
in
the
office,
inauguration, yeah.
they invalidated our kid's passport.
Yeah, that was
So
one of the
if we
first
hadn't gotten
two
out,
executive
we wouldn't
orders.
have gotten out.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. I was saying, I'm sure we have more time. And she was saying, we must get out now.
I told
She
him
was
if
right.
we're leaving, we are leaving before Inauguration Day. We are factoring
right.
for weather, for train delays, for everything, and we are going to be in Spain before he is inaugurated.
Yeah.
And Ben was like, we'll have a couple, it won't do anything that quickly. We'll have a couple months. And I was like, no. No, which was a good thing.
Well, and I have seen in the news lately, a lot of this is, it's theater, but with real consequences, right?
Yeah.
And so, moving the military into Chicago is simultaneously very dangerous to people in Chicago and is a photo op, right? And Trump made reference the other day to Portland being, one of the next cities. And I can imagine, I know you were involved in the protest before, and I would then talk to people who were, exclusively seeing the world through a lens of Fox News, and they were going, is Portland on fire?
Yeah.
And I was, going, no, here are the protests, and if you turn around, there are people sitting at a table eating food. It is, it is not on fire. It is not
All
a
of
disaster.
Portland's on fire. No, it's one block, and it's not actually on fire, and it's,
And it just smells real spicy.
So will you get Spanish passports?
We actually had a conversation about this. We were talking about passports last night, and we were looking at our passports to see when they expired, because we have a 3-year visa right now, and then we can renew it for another 3 years.
Right.
But at 5 years in Spain, we can apply for permanent residency within the EU.
But it's not citizenship.
Yeah,
so we
but
wouldn't
to
have
get your
voting rights.
citizenship, so to get a Spanish passport, you have to be living here for 10 years, and then you have to pass a language and like a cultural test. And so I don't know, because our passports expire in about
We were looking it up, yeah.
about 10 years.
32, yeah. So
Yeah.
we've got some time to
8
make that
years,
decision.
somewhere around there. So we have some time.
And so the 3-year visa, is that because you guys are teachers? Like, how do you
It's
get
Ben's.
that?
So
That's
so Ben, because we have NotAPipe, the publishing press, NotAPipe hired Ben as an employee
Okay.
and signed a contract and did everything. So we are under a digital nomad visa for Ben.
Okay.
Because Ben works for an American company.
Right.
And then I came over as Ben's spouse. And then Frankie came over as our dependent. But Frankie, my daughter, is 24. And so the Spanish government was like, why are you still and we didn't want to be like, here's all the psychiatric information about why. So we enrolled Frankie in Spanish language lessons and for the government. I was like, okay, they're in school. That's fine. That
Okay.
explains it.
Yeah.
So
So do you pay American taxes?
we'll still pay American taxes. And I recently started teaching English as a second language at a language school here. And Ben is teaching there as well because he can still work for a Spanish company as long as it's less than 10% of the income.
20%.
Yeah, 20%
So
of
that-
the income.
And then
so
will you pay taxes on that?
We'll pay
Here.
Okay.
So we may end up getting double taxed.
but no,
on
we won't because Spain and the U.S. have a mutual tax agreement where you don't have to pay taxes on the same things in both countries. So NotAPipe will get taxed for what NotAPipe makes,
Right.
and then Ben will get taxed out of Spain,
Right.
for what Spain, or it will get the Spanish government will waive the taxes and they'll get paid through the U.S. It's one or the other, but they have like a mutual agreement where so you won't have to pay double taxes. I actually read up on this one. They don't make you pay taxes in both countries.
I at this point would feel far more comfortable paying the taxes to the Spanish government.
That's fair.
So
That's
yeah, but that we'll have to.
That's probably not
navigate
something
that.
we should talk about.
I know,
on
yeah, you know,
The internets.
We'll keep it legal. But yeah, that is going to be interesting to figure out how we kind of navigate that.
Well, and you know, I was talking about the Terminal movie, and Trump made that announcement, came out with that thing after what was it? Rosie O'Donnell is like, and then he made put out this thing about like maybe we should strip citizenship from Americans that are like members of these dangerous groups or speak bad about the administration, and I went home to Ben that day and I was like, hypothetically speaking, what happens if you're living in Spain and the United States like invalidates your citizenship? Like, what would I do? Because one of those things listed was Trump's obsession with Antifa, the right wing's obsession with Antifa, and this notion that it's this like organized group and all of this. And so it was explicitly mentioned in it. Mm-hmm. And NotAPipe put out the Antifa Lit Journal with my name on the cover. And I was like, oh, what would happen?
It just, yeah.
Does anybody know what happens if you lose your citizenship when you're living in another country?
Yes, become a person without a country. It
Right,
happens.
please put it in the comments.
I'm like,
Yeah.
can you please? Like, is it bad that I'm like, okay, Trump, go ahead, like, please? That's fine. Like, I probably could apply for, like, asylum or something, right?
I mean, maybe, yeah, we would have to see how governments here would react.
I would
It
be
might
okay
really
with that.
interesting, yeah.
Like, I would not be mad about that.
But yeah, that.
It may complicate things, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, but have you seen anything in the kind of greater Portland area that is, you know, I know there have been some big protests, but has, you know, how do you feel about the way people are reacting at this point, and what does it feel like?
Yeah, there have been some big protests, which I don't even know if that is the right word, like consolidarity marches more.
Yeah.
Where 10 or 20,000 people will show up and just to feel some togetherness in their point of view. And they're definitely like protesting the Mad King, but nobody's breaking windows or anything. They're daytime marches.
Yeah.
Like I think that there's there definitely is a fear, right, of drawing the eye of Sauron. Like people are just being careful and waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. And we get a lot of that. Some authors for the journal, they were like, I'd love to submit a piece, but I'm afraid of putting my name on something like that. Which is, I'm not going to say history has already shown what happens when you get to that point.
But that's why we want to talk about it. Like, it is worth bringing. This is where we are.
Yeah.
That's a scary place.
The flaps aren't down on the airplane.
So, I want to make sure, is there anything else? We're running low on time. So is there anything else we definitely wanted to make sure we asked Chelsea about before we...
Is there anything we didn't ask you about that you...
Plenty. We didn't really talk about my books or...
I really could go on and on and on about how much I love your books. What is going on writing-wise next for you?
Just trying to finish this movie.
Yeah.
And finishing up the next Archie Gretchen book, which will be book 7.
Really? Oh my gosh.
And I'm working on I was asked to submit a story for a collection they're doing about Stephen King's The Shining. The Overlook Hotel where everything takes place. They've asked writers to write stories that take place in the universe of the Overlook Hotel, which has a 100-year history, right? So we can come in at any point and write a short story that takes place at the Overlook. So
sounds very cool.
And it's Stephen King approved. That is something I'm actively working on.
Was that one where they came to you and said, we want a piece of yours in here? And what kind of length are they looking for those?
I'm sure it's in the contract.
But I mean, is it really
20 pages.
It's a good chunker of a short story.
They don't want a 5-page.
They're not saying, give us 2,000 words. That's exciting. So for that one, are you? Have you gone to visit and are you doing that kind of research or do you?
No, obviously the exterior in terms of the movie was Timberline.
Right.
But the actual Overlook is a hotel in Estes Park, Colorado.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So that's where the book takes place and where Stephen King stayed and came up with the idea. So it's very much that hotel. And I considered going there instead. I just did a whole lot of research on it. And the editor actually gave us all a great kind of cheat sheet because there's so much information in the book about just various rooms and floors and just the kind of geography of the hotel. So we have that cheat sheet, which is nice. But it's a very fun exercise to kind of play in somebody else's sandbox, and right, because the world is so built. And I had to go back and reread the book, which I have read several times, and was the first Stephen King book that I read, as a tween or whatever. But I've seen the movie so many times since then. It had started to kind of replace my kind of notion of the book. And so I really wanted to make sure that it was purely the book that I was referencing.
I mean, it speaks to the quality of the film that it even could. So often, once you read the book, you'll never see the movie the same way. But that one is so iconic that it does stick in your brain. That's what a neat exercise. So are they going to be kind of policing it so that your different stories don't step on one another? Or are they going to say you can go wherever use the word within policing. This unit? I know, I was hesitant. You could tell.
The anti-fascist.
I know, and I'm I resist that. I don't like that idea, but
No, we did have to get the editor just a 2-sentence kind of this is what I'm thinking, because and she did say, actually they said that it was that there were a couple pieces that involved maids and butlers, that were just a little too close, like maids and butlers in the 20s.
Yeah.
And so like somebody had to like come up with a different one. But mine slipped through.
Was fine.
Well, I was like, I'm doing 1970, because we can't go past when the book takes place, right? But I wanted to do 1970. I just thought that would be, great, because the hotel at that point is, it's been fixed up. It's not super popular yet, but they put the money in it. They fixed it up. It's right before the caretaker kills his daughter. That happens in the winter, right? So things are, starting to coalesce, and so like we know there's this bad thing that's going to happen soon, but nobody else does. And it's also seemed a lot easier. Like these people who want to like write, 1917. It's like, gee, like I would much rather research 1970.
Well, the further you go back, just language-wise, you end up having to write. I've heard from folks who write historical where they'll acknowledge, I write in kind of historicalese, like kind of old-fashionedese, because if you actually use the phrases and language that people used in 1860 or whatever, a modern audience would go, what? What? I don't even know these words, right? This slang, and so I think writing in the 1970s would be really fun because the slang can be accurate and people can still get it,
Right, and there's much more like there are cultural reference points that are much more familiar, to people reading now. And, just like, I think of like, historical, like writing a more historical piece, I've got to think about the clothes, which I do in 1970 as well, but that's much easier. Just all the details of getting right. And even the hotel, like what's that hotel going to be like in 1917? It's going to be run much differently. It's,
right.
Whereas, Ben knows me, I read a lot of like Regency era.
Yeah, she does.
Britland.
The clothes. Yeah. But what a fun exercise. And do you know some of the other folks who are going to be in there? Is it going to be a table of contents that you're excited about?
Yeah.
Can you reveal, or is that?
Well, I can reveal that Chuck Palahniuk is one of them.
Oh, it's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, I tried to get him to go to Colorado with me. We're going to stay at the hotel. Stay for the weekend. It'll be great.
You don't often do short stories, do you?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I've done a few. Like I'm in maybe 4 or 5 anthologies.
Well, I remember a few years ago you were shopping around like the short story, and we offered to bribe you.
Oh, yes. Do you remember this?
No. With the Home Depot skeleton?
So you had a short story.
Again, it was so long ago.
Yes, you had a short story, and you said you could be bribed.
I slid into the DMs, and I was like, "Not a pipe will publish." You tweeted about
what was the short story? Though?
I don't know. So you tweeted that you had written this short story for this publisher, but then it ended up being like too long or something like that, and so you were trying to. And I literally, I sent a DM, and I was like, Not a Pipe will publish it.
Right.
And then you sent back like, pricing, and we were like, can we talk about and you were like, and we had just I had been posting about how much I wanted the 12-foot, like the Home Depot skeleton.
It's the dream.
You were like, if you can get me one of those, you can have the story. And I went to Ben and I was like, Ben. And I was already like every day as it's getting close to Halloween and I ended up going into Home Depot and getting 2 of them.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, Ben, should I reach out? And it was like a year later. I was like, she's not going to remember.
I was like, it was
That's
a joke.
That's going to sound really weird.
On.
It was a joke. And I listened to you.
The thing is.
And then we had to sell it when we moved.
If it's the piece I'm thinking of, it wasn't a short story.
Okay,
and I thought it was an essay.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, Ben was like, no, she was joking. She's Chelsea Cain.
No,
she's not going to publish it with us.
I would do that.
So it was his fault.
My fault.
We had 2. I managed to pick up 2.
Well,
I called him, and I'm like, I'm at Home Depot.
The last thing I need right now is a Home Depot skeleton.
Yeah. And then like less than a year later, we moved and had to sell it.
We'll make other arrangements.
Right? So I was going to say, you don't often do, short stories.
No, but I do essays, which is what this was. It was like a true crime. It was about this sort of my first murder. This 19-year-old who was raped and murdered in the town next over from my town when I was about the same age. I was the same age, and kind of like how that story, which took 20 years to solve, kind of was woven through my life.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be fascinating. Like, how, the way it tracked with your writing about murder, or also your interest in the topic in general, or
Oh, both. Well, one of the things I realized in Heartsick, not right away, I was a couple books in, when I realized in Heart that I had been murdering Mandy Stavik, which was her name, in Heartsick over and over and over again. So she was this blonde 19-year-old found, nude and sexually assaulted and strangled, at a in the water in the Nooksack River, and all of the girls that are murdered in Heartsick are murdered the same way. They're all these blonde, women like killed the same way, found in water.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Unintentional, unconsciously.
Right. Well, because to me, I think that was the worst thing that could happen. Right.
Yeah.
Like that was stuck in my head as this really scary, horrible thing, and I think that part of me, because the murder was still unsolved when I wrote Heartsick, was me trying to catch her killer. Right. So I was murdering her until I got to the last girl who I could save.
Yeah.
So I could finally save Mandy Stavik.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And in fact, a couple years after that, I was doing a book event and in conversation with this guy named Stuart Copeland, who is also an author in addition to being a Whatcom County Sheriff's deputy. They asked me to do an in conversation at Powell's with him. And Whatcom County is the county I grew up in, right? And his book took place in Bellingham, which is the town I grew up in. So I, enjoyed it. And we're in conversation, and I had noticed in the book that there is this girl, this, victim who is home for Thanksgiving break and goes to the mailbox to check the mail and is, not seen again. And then I think her body turns up later. And she's 19. And so I said in the Q&A, I said, Stuart, is that girl, is she based on Mandy Stavik? And he just paled. He was I didn't think anybody would get that. Right? This is from a cold case murder, right? From 20 years before. He was like, how do you even know that name? And I said, that was her murder was really traumatic for all of us, and he said, well, I actually am working that cold case.
Wow.
And I said, you're kidding, you're actually working the Mandy Stavik case? And he said, I am. And I said, if you could catch that motherfucker, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
And after the conversation, he took me aside and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he leans in close, looks to both sides, and he says, we've got a suspect, which is incredible to hear, right? It's been so long. And then he stops and he says, when I say that, I mean, we've got him. We know who did it, and we are going to arrest him. It's going to happen. Which was, again, incredible. And he said, I can't tell you anything more.
Yeah.
Shouldn't even have said that. Can't give you any more information. And then it was 6 months later, I get an email from Stuart. And he says, Don't know if you've heard the news. Like, I think it's hit the media, but, we arrested Mandy's murderer this morning, and, he is in custody. And, it was this, I'll say kid. He was in his early 20s. It was a guy down the street, as it always is, right? It was a neighbor.
Yeah.
Lived down the street. This is in the county. So, like, when I say a street, like, each street probably has 5 houses on it, right? Yeah. It's rural. But they had, canvassed and gotten, I think, like 400 DNA samples. But somehow this guy, because his parents were on the lease of the house, like, he just slipped through. They didn't know he was there somehow. Yeah. And I'll tell you how they caught him. Do we have time, or should we just?
No, go ahead.
Because I would love
not
scene.
tell us. Yeah, sorry.
Tune in next week.
Yeah.
It was women telling stories. It was 2 women, moms, at a pool.
Yeah.
Who had gone to high school in this little town where Mandy had grown up, and they had both known this guy Tim. And again, Tim was not even on their radar. It wasn't even in the file. This guy, all the work they had done, all the names in this file, which was like 10,000 pages long. This guy, not in it. These 2 moms were talking, and one of them, they were just kind of like bullshitting about the high school, right? And not super close, but acquaintances. And one of the moms said to the other, like, because Mandy had come up, like, wasn't that crazy when Mandy was murdered? And one of them said, I think I know who did it. And the other one said Tim's name. And the first one was like, that's what I was going to say. Wow. And they both shared stories of these uncomfortable interactions with him, right? Nothing even illegal, but super uncomfortable. Like, super gross vibes, just inappropriate.
Radar pinging.
Total, like, bad news, red flag.
Yeah.
And neither had reported them because at the time they didn't really even have a context, much less a path to report. Yeah. But they both just really, this guy had given them the creeps in a way that, as a woman, you really know the difference between just like a creeper and somebody who could really actually hurt you.
But if you're younger, you may not.
Right, they were both
it.
Teenagers at the time. Who like really avoided him like the plague.
Yeah, like, why you feel as a teenage girl, like, why you feel uncomfortable around somebody, around a man, but you don't really know why.
You might not even be able to describe it if you had to report it.
And
like, this
was even more than that. Like, he had talked his way into one of their apartments and then, like, tried to block the door. Like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then they were like, so, like, again, do we call the police about, like, these weird interactions, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And then, like, one of them was like, I think we do. And so she ends up calling because she had like a cousin who worked at the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So it was easier. Okay. She calls that guy. And it's like, like whoever's working the Mandy Stavik cold case, like, we just wanted them to know, like, this guy Tim, like, just take a look at him. And the cousin, like, took it seriously and talked to Stuart Copeland, and they were like, we don't have any other names right now. And they started investigating him. And the more they found out, the more, red flags went up. And then they just had to get his DNA, which, of course, was a whole process. And he was very careful about his DNA. So, just because by then, like, he was watching true crime shows, right?
Well, and somebody that behaves that way as a teenager doesn't suddenly stop behaving
right. So
that way.
He wasn't, wasn't leaving trash. He was a bread delivery truck driver. And wouldn't leave trash in his truck, would totally clean it out, like, all of that. But they eventually got his DNA and got it processed in the lab and got that final call.
Oh, wow.
And it was a match.
So, because that murder played such an important role in your kind of writing trajectory, does his capture and arrest, do you think there will be a way that will affect your writing?
Oh, that's a good question, my friend. It's hard to say, because that was really framed in the B story, which was this, the killer in Heartsick that kind of gets Archie out of retirement. There's always like a B killer.
Yeah.
But mostly the Heartsick series is this twisted love story between a cop, Archie, and a serial killer.
I love that you call it a love story.
It is a love story.
I love that.
And then there's some other killer at large, which
Yeah.
kind of gives the story, a shape, a forward momentum.
Yeah.
So, I think I dealt with that devil in Heartsick already
Yeah.
by saving the girl at the end.
Yeah. The other nice thing about having the B killer is it provides. I don't want to think anything away to people who need to read it, but one of the things that you almost inevitably do in a series like this is, at some point, the murderer is caught. But the series isn't over.
Yeah.
And so what is the cop going to do? Well, there's still a killer out there, and now the murderer's in jail. And then you end up with the kind of Hannibal Lecter, structure. And so I think it was the third book. Gretchen's hardly in it. She's in like 2 scenes, right? But
I think that's the fourth.
Is that the fourth?
Yeah, the ninth season.
Yes. But it is still propulsive, and her presence is there as this kind of looming, frightening thing because she's gotten into his head. So read the books; they're really good.
She is one of the most insidious characters that I think I've read.
Oh, thank you.
She is. She's like the boogeyman in the clock. Like when you are reading those books. I love horror movies.
But by the 5th book, you're starting to develop her in a. She's not just a horror figure. Like we're starting to learn more about, because the characters are learning more about. It's that withholding, right?
Yeah, but
we're
she's
starting to find out of her. I don't have.
She's the horror movie that after you're done watching, you have to watch the behind the scenes extras on the DVD before you can go to bed. She's that.
She is very creepy.
Well, one of the keys to Gretchen Lowell, from a writing perspective, is that she never has a point of view. We're never in her head.
Yeah.
So we only know what the characters around her know and feel about her, and it's a multiple point of view character book. So we're usually moving between Archie and Susan, and occasionally another character. So we see the facets of the unknowable Gretchen through what is projected from these other characters, what they think and feel and know.
And they all know that she's a liar.
Right. And they all know different things and are withholding different things, Archie in particular. But I think that also allows the reader to project onto Gretchen.
Yeah.
Their own kind of notions of what her end game is.
That might say something about my own childhood that I see her as
so
this
hard. No, because
that might speak more to.
So again, it goes to that idea of withholding. The characters themselves have different motivations to believe different things she says.
Yeah.
So Archie, and this is not a spoiler. You've said that he loves her, and hates himself for loving her, and so he does not. He's so angry at her and doesn't want to believe her, and yet often needs to. And then the reporter, what I'm blanking, was it
Susan?
Susan is always trying to be enough as a character, and so her brief interactions with Gretchen are Gretchen beating her down, and so she's got to get information from this person who is a liar, and she's also trying to almost come to believe in herself as a character in reference to this person who makes her feel inferior. I mean, they're wonderfully, believably drawn characters. Again,
We've
read these
devolved
books.
into
They're so good.
fangirling
Yeah, I know,
again.
fangirling again. But they, none of the characters are perfect. That's an understatement. They're all deeply flawed, very real people, and that's one of the things that really worked for me. And the other thing is the plotting. So, to what extent are you, whiteboarding this out, and to what extent? That's one of the things I've been so interested in that I didn't want to get too processy, but I was fascinated as I was reading it how much plotting is systematic, and how much of that is, okay, I write this scene and then I realize this scene will fit well here, and or is it all red string?
Well, so much of the plot is backstory, right? As you've mentioned.
Yeah.
So like all of that has to be worked out.
Yeah.
Right. So I know what I'm withholding.
Yeah.
And then really it is the backstory that drives the front story.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, right, it is coming up with a terrible murder, and then they've got to solve it.
Yeah.
So, in terms of plotting, I will sort of scene plot, which is to say, Archie the crime scene, Susan in the car, like literally scenes.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't tie me down into some kind of like want or, forward process. It's just, this is where I need this character to be. And then I really love putting characters in a pickle.
Well,
And seeing how they get out of it.
Funny that you should say
I love
pickle,
that discovery process.
because again, don't want to spoil, but you literally have somebody in a basement in water.
That was one of them. That's literally one of them.
Being pickled.
I put people like I was like, I'm going to throw these characters in a basement that is flooding with poisonous octopus.
Okay, I wasn't going to reveal that, but yes. And so that's the kind of thing where then
I was like, how are you going to get out of this one?
But
what are you going to do now?
As I was reading it, I was wondering, did you think of the poisonous octopus first, and then, it'd be really cool to have them in the scene? Or did you go, I want them trapped in a wet basement, but what is going to create the tension? And then work backwards
I
from
thought
the
of
poisonous
octopus first.
Okay, because that was...
I really wanted a new kind of murder weapon.
Right.
So I thought, certainly, a poisonous octopus would be great.
Oh, it is, yeah. And one of the great things about that as a murder weapon is its limitations. It's I think about this as a fantasy writer too. You can't develop a magic system that solves all the problems, right? And you can't have a murder weapon that is the perfect murder weapon that and so the octopus is not going to survive in freshwater, is not going to be able to, so it provides all these limits that then constrain the murderer, and those become the clues, like how are they going to find the person who could only have been the person who could have done this in this window of time, and so that I thought that was a really clever way of structuring the story. I mean, it almost structures the story. The octopus kind of drives the story, or at least hems you in a lot.
Because it was like, it also like, it's so silly. And to like make it not silly on the page, to really make it scary.
Yeah, it doesn't feel goofy at all. It feels incredibly creepy, and yet you're right. Yeah, it's this pretty little octopus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so folks who are hearing this, that's probably a good place for us to stop, because if I'm hoping you are listening to this podcast going, I need to read those books. Yes, you do. You need to go read those books. So thank you so much for being here. This was super fun, and thanks for coming to visit us in Barcelona.
Again, I came all the way
to
Barcelona for this.
That is by far our, we will never have another author travel all the way to Barcelona to be on the show.
Unless we manage to start our own. Ben's been like, how do you start a writer's retreat?
I know, I need to start a writer's retreat.
How can we do that here?
I think that would be super cool.
Yeah.
But yes, so thank you very, very much for coming. Thank you all. And I do want to have some time for
do we have
questions.
any audience questions?
Yeah. Does anybody have any?
I was going to say, somebody at your level of accomplishment, what do you tend to get out of these writers' retreats? It seems like, in my head, I'm just outside of it. I would just think, like, you're just so far beyond what the normal participant would be. I mean, what do you get out of it?
That's a very good question. I'm not a participant. I'm a guest.
Of course.
So like, yeah,
Exactly.
I get paid to be there.
That's such.
But do you get anything out of it?
I get money. I get money and a nice international trip.
Do you use them as writing time?
I love that answer though.
I don't because I feel like I was a guest at this one, which is different. Like I also run my own. So like this year I have Maui, I have Hollywood, and I have Marrakesh coming up.
Fun.
And those are ones I run entirely. And yeah, like I really love it.
Yeah.
It's all vetted. Like I invite people who have been my students in some of their context or writers that I know. So it's like curated. It's a curated group of people. But yeah, I find it, I find it really fun. I really love hosting a party. These guys will tell you. I like to host a party. And I also like to travel. And, so it's two good skill sets that I have. I don't do my own writing at the retreats because I feel like I'm there.
Right, it would get in the way.
Students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want my bandwidth to be devoted to them and their work.
Yeah. So, sorry I'm hosting your party, but I can't be a good host right now because I just thought of an idea.
Right.
And I have to go
I'll be back in 4 hours.
Yeah.
You guys go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do they do the kind of activities where they then share out, and so you get to hear some good stuff, which that's good for the writer too.
It's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Good to build those muscles, and I think everybody learns, from each other's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if your courses or workshops and your retreats are only for crime writers, or are they for any writers?
Oh, they're for anybody. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'll even take memoirists. I will occasionally do offer a Zoom writing class that is, particular. How to murder somebody and get away with it, that kind of thing. But yeah, most of them are pretty universal. I think even the tools of tension, right, and plot are really, and withholding they're applicable, to really any kind of work.
Yeah.
Any kind of work.
Eric Witchy, who's another, does a lot of teaching. One of the points he made to me, I don't know, many years ago in my career is every story is a mystery. And that was helpful to me. But then the further I've gotten along in my career, I've realized, every story is a mystery. And every story is a romance. And really, you want to have a moment that feels magical. So every story is a fantasy. Like, some of these genre traits cross over into all of them. You want to have the protagonist trying to figure something out. So it's a mystery, right? And it will structurally be similar to a mystery. And you want to have... most
I think
stories have some kind
you're
of
overthinking it.
It's
sweetie.
not everyone, but I do
I was
think
about to say he's going to have to start paying you the amount of time you talk about him.
That leads to writer's block.
Yeah.
That kind of bullshit right there shuts you down.
Well, yeah,
right?
but I do think it.
And also, it's science fiction, and also it's
Right.
a mariner story,
But I do think it
and a
means we
hero's
can
journey,
learn from everybody. Like we can learn from all the other writers.
and it's kind of a how-to book.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't want to set out to do
And a
that.
cookbook.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare. No, but it means when I'm reading somebody who writes a different genre, I know I've got a lot to learn from them. Like even if it's not in my normal wheelhouse, because I don't normally write romance, but there are people who do and do it really well, and I can learn from them.
Yeah. Again, I think my books are romances.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this, kind of. There's sex.
Well, there's certainly some spicy scenes
And there's some-
that are well written because you've read that kind of stuff.
There's also like I really like thrillers where like I will read a thriller that is just really just full of dismemberment and necrophilia, like child murder. Oh, I will read the whole thing just waiting to see if the two detective inspectors kiss.
Yes.
I really will. Like that's
The will they, won't they?
yeah. Like that's the real tension.
Right. Yeah. The other stuff is just a particularly gory paint on
Filler. It's just filler.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to ask, do you find yourself like reading detective novels or like horror novels? watching, or do you go the other way where you're like, I'm going to watch something that's entirely opposite what I write
Well, I'm
about?
doing a Downton Abbey rewatch right now, which does have some deaths.
All of that. It does actually have some death and some sex and some mystery and some,
But yeah, no, I'll read anything.
Okay.
I actually read a lot of nonfiction. One of the things that I think is also important in maybe I'll say any book, is authorities to teach the reader something. I like, as a reader, I like to learn things, and Susan Ward, who's my journalist character, is a longtime features writer, so she's full of facts.
Yes.
Which makes it really fun because I can just drop in these facts from her point of view. Which again, as a reader, it's like, oh, that's something to remember for the dinner party tonight. That'll
come up in trivia one day.
Yeah.
And a lot of it
How
is-
many people are killed by cafeteria tables a year? More than you'd think.
Well, and that develops in her character more and more, and I was wondering if that's because you were going, I'm having a shit ton of fun with her facts, and so she becomes more and more, that becomes, because it's like, was that because you realized the readers were enjoying it, or because you were going, this part of her character is really fun
It's
to
always
write?
for me. But she's also useful in the sense that she can do some exposition. So if we're arriving at a place, she's going to know all kinds of facts about that place. Whereas if we're in Archie's point of view, he's not going to tell us about the place. It's just another place to him. Susan, who's got this ADD kind of she's going to spill all these facts about it.
If you ever make a movie on that.
For any writers here, my hot tip is, if you're writing a multiple point of view book, to always go to the point of view of the person with the least amount of information, right? So Susan has facts about the place, but she has no idea what the crime scene is. She's not an authority about the crime scene. So she's got to get that information while she's there.
Okay.
So it's always thinking about who is the least amount of information. That's always the most interesting.
Yeah. Well, and one of the pieces of writing advice I give writers is hide your exposition. And so that she does that really well because it feels natural for her to tell us facts, right? Instead of the narrative voice going, here are the following things here's an info dump before we get to the next scene. She can do it in a way that is what she would. It's the correct thing for her to say.
Well, she's the authority on Portland in those books.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fun. And do you have a question as well?
Yeah, as a reader, I never read your books, so...
How exciting, because now you'll get
Yes,
to.
now you know you have to.
Now I'm curious. So, is there, maybe this is a typical question, but is there a book that I should read first, maybe?
Heartsick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on Goodreads, so
Yeah.
it's a really good book, 4 stars or almost 5.
Oh, yeah.
Almost 5, you hear that?
Yeah. Start with Heartsick. You won't stop. Once you read it, and it is a series that is continuous. So it's and you'll go right on from there.
I hope they sell it here also then.
I know they can get it. I don't know if they have it in the store today. I think they had people pre-order, but they will be able to get it for you.
Okay, that's nice.
Good.
Good.
All right.
Yes.
See,
Check.
made a sale.
We made a sale.
That's worth a trip to Barcelona.
Right. Yes. Now officially a tax
Well, and then
write-off.
I know, I was going to say, this whole thing's a tax write-off,
Right.
so...
Right, absolutely.
Right?
Well, it already was.
Yes.
Because of the money I made at the retreat.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
I was just curious because again, new fan as well. You had a relationship with Marvel. Could you get more into that because that kind of piqued my interest?
Yeah. I wrote an 8-issue comic about Mockingbird, who many people know as Hawkeye's ex-wife. So Portland has a very strong comic book scene. There are a lot like Matt Fraction, Brian Michael Bendis, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Mike Oman, all these people are there. And I sort of fell in, my first husband and I fell in with them. And we're just hanging out with all these comic book people all of the time, because they all hang out with each other all of the time. And guess what they talk about all of the time? Comics. They talk about comics all of the time. And they kept saying, like, when are you going to write a comic? And I was like, I hadn't really thought about it. But I was reading a bunch of comics and, have. And then, one day I was like, I think that would be an interesting puzzle to crack. Like, how does one write a comic? And Matt Fraction had published Hawkeye, which I really loved. I thought that was a very, really excellent comic, and that he was doing so much that I couldn't figure out how. And so I kept reading it and trying to reverse engineer it and kind of break the story to figure out how he was doing that, and still couldn't. I figured out a couple things, but couldn't figure out all of the things. And so I was like, I want to try that. So I thought one of the things I really wanted to write a female point of view comic. A female character. There have been very few female points of view in the history of Marvel. There are female characters, but they don't have solo stories. They appear as characters that, while they might have strong stories and some strong dialogue, they're always in service of male characters. And I really wanted to toy with canon, because canon is so important to Marvel and to all of the Marvel fans, that I thought, let's bring that down and see what happens. Because if you accept canon, then you accept, again, all of this kind of historical misogyny, all these choices that have been made until now. That's somehow carved in stone. Yeah. And so I thought Mockingbird would be a great character to be let's get her point of view on some of these stories, right? Because she has all of these stories with Hawkeye, and I was but what if she told that story rather than Hawkeye, her ex-husband, telling that story? Because I bet they're slightly different, those two stories. And so I thought this would be great, and I told Brian, Michael Bendis, I was like, Brian, I have had this great news. I've decided to write a comic for Marvel. Will you let them know? And Brian was like, that's not usually how this works. And I was like, no, just let them know. It's going to be Mockingbird. I'm really interested in her. I'm really interested in her story. And I'm going to toy with canon. Yeah, just let them know, give them my contact info. And again, he was like, I don't think you understand. Usually people do a little creator-owned comic, and then they do this and this and this, and then Marvel calls them. And I was like, that's cute, but just let them know. And the next week I see him again, and I was like, Brian, have you let Marvel know about the comic? And he's like, I haven't let them know yet. And so 3 days later, I emailed him, and I was like, hey, just checking in to see if you've been in touch with Marvel about the comic I'm going to write. And then, a couple of weeks later, not even that long, I get an email from Marvel with the little, it was really fun because it has the little Marvel insignia on it, and I was like, oh. And it's hey, dear Chelsea, sort of formal, dear Chelsea, it's great news. We've decided to give you this opportunity to write a one-shot Mockingbird title. And I was like, oh, great. And then I wrote back, sounds great, good idea. How many issues is a one-shot? And they were like, it's one. Yeah. It's one. It's right in the word one shot. It's one. And I was like, all right. And so it was actually part of this the 50th anniversary of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so yeah, I wrote this Mockingbird one shot and spent way too much time on it, but really learned a lot. And yeah, it came out, and Mockingbird Marvel got in touch and was like, "Great news! We've decided to offer you an ongoing Mockingbird series." So then I started doing that, and went all in with the burning down of the canon and with the point of view of the female character. And there were some boys who felt that I was giving her a feminist agenda.
Yeah.
And I was hearing about it on Twitter, and I, to which I was like, yeah, no shit, like, yes. But they were offended. They were offended by the fact that there was a female hero with her own title when there were so many male heroes who didn't have their own titles. They thought like this was a DEI thing, I guess. And yeah, like it got a little toxic, and then it also it never really broke through, in terms of sales. Like the people who read it loved it. It was getting really, really well reviewed. But, most of the people who go into comic book shops, one, are guys, and they're looking for Batman, So my editor called and said, we've decided it's time to sunset Mockingbird. And again, I had no idea what she meant. I was like, okay, what does that mean? And she's like, end. We're going to end Mockingbird in a couple of issues, right? And I was like, oh, okay. But that gave me time to plan the last issue, to wrap it up, plan the last issue. And so with the last issue, I have Mockingbird on the front with a T-shirt. I have a sunset in the background. That was just a little in-joke. And she's wearing a T-shirt that says, "Ask me about my feminist agenda." And so that was the last issue that we put out. And that's when it really got attention. Yeah.
That cover was on the wall of my classroom. And I would have students all the time like, Mr. Gorman, do you also have a feminist agenda? Mm-hmm. Thank you for asking. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
And that cover, I love Marvel, but I don't read comics. Mm-hmm. And so I'd seen you, posting earlier them, but I don't read comics. And so I was like, I'm probably gonna, pass this one. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Until you released that cover.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, I'm never going to read it because I'm not a comic reader. Uh-huh. But I have to own that.
Oh, no, you should read it. It's really good.
I have now, I was like, I have to own that cover.
Yeah.
And that's the one, I picked up that one from you.
Uh-huh.
And that's the one that, the first time I saw you at that convention, I picked up that one, and I got that one signed.
And that's worth a lot.
Well, and
if
then
you ever want to put that in eBay.
Really?
Signed number 8. Oh, yeah.
Well, and then I went home and read it.
I'll pass it on to my child.
I went home and I read it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, fuck. I have to go get all of the other ones. So the next time I saw you, I picked up the rest of the collection. But that cover, that was me. I was that person that was like, I have to have this cover. This cover is amazing.
Well, and then, that speaks to, the danger of saying we're only going to tell the stories of the white male heroes is you're only going to have the same comic fans. If a new cover literally pulls in somebody who says, I don't read comics.
But,
I
love
do.
The fact that
that's
cover
the point.
came out of, okay, yeah, you want to accuse me of being, feminist and all woke and stuff. That's fine.
That's
it was fun dealing with Marvel though because I would send a little paragraph kind of summary of the issue that I was working on. I had a lot of freedom. A lot of people have to write from a scaffolding designed by the architects. When they get together and plot everything out that kind of has to work together. And me, they were just like, you just go do your thing. But I had sent a little paragraph that where I needed the Hulk because I was able to bring in anybody I wanted. And my editor wrote back and was like, oh, the Hulk is unavailable. And I was like, what? Like, oh, the Hulk is going to be, off planet. That month, the Hulk is going to be off planet. Like they were real, like it was like 20th Century Fox and they had actors under contract, I was like, so here's so-and-so is available, but the Hulk is not available.
Yeah.
And then I needed Hawkeye at one point, and they were like, ooh, Hawkeye is really not available. And I was like, well, I kind of need Hawkeye because I have this whole ex-husband thing I want to kind of like work out. And they were like, really not available. And I was like, what does that mean, really not available? And they're like, okay, we're gonna give you this password, this very secret password to like the Marvel, like if you picture like those big companies that somewhere in the very very sub basement there's like a silo of light.
Yes.
Where all of the data is all of the knowledge. This connected me to that for Marvel, and it was all of the secret stuff, all the secret plans, and this was the whole plot of Hawkeye shooting Hulk.
Oh.
And so Hawkeye was unavailable. But it was really exciting to get to crawl around in there and
did you
see
feel
what these nerds were up to.
Did you feel like you wanted to all of those guys online that were like you're too fat at that point? Did you feel like you wanted to be like neener?
Yeah, do you know how much more I know about
do you know how much more?
What I thought was, well, I need to comment on this. I need to rewrite this, and I did. On the cruise ship, I rethought that whole thing so I could react because I felt like, wait, you guys weren't going to tell me about this? Bobby Mockingbird is Clint's Hawkeye's ex-wife. She would have a reaction to him being, on trial for murder.
Yeah.
Like that, she would react to that.
Yeah.
Like I need to show that reaction in my comic.
Yeah.
So I did. But of course it hadn't even occurred to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good that I got into the light.
Yeah. I really do picture, yes, the light, and it's a floating cube of data.
All right, we should really finish up.
Yes, we should wrap up.
Thank you all for your time, and the show will be a long one, and that's fine. It's a nice thing about podcasts. There's nobody who can yell at me. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll call it there, and we will see you next week for our first official episode at Tilting at Windmills.
Yes.
All right.
So come on back next week.
Gracias, adios.
Adios.